Uhura, hail the Klingons. What is... Why you only calling us when you got your drama? One of these days we'll repay you, we'll slay you. There's all your last breath at the end of Armageddon. Your eternal torture is every Klingon's dream. You know what I mean? Make your blood scream.
Apologies for that. Something seems to have taken over the podcast briefly. Some kind of quantum musical reality. I had to start with some kind of musical intro. Oh, there we go. That's enough of that. Just because we are recording just after the musical episode of Star Trek. So, yeah, I had to just chime in with something like that to try and build up our spirits and hopefully entertain you all, or at least make you all laugh at me. So... without any further ado, then, I'm going to jump straight into the actual episode. If you have clicked on this, you'll know what this is. This is one of our now famous top 10 episodes. We've already done top 10 Star Trek movies and top 10 Starfleet ships. Excuse me. So this one, we are going to be doing our top 10 alien starships. So that's all of the various alien cultures that are non-Starfleet. All got our top 10 lists ready. I'll explain once I've introduced everybody what it will entail if this is your first top 10, but if it is, go listen to the other two. They're pretty good. So, I am joined, as always, by my, my faithful number one, my co-host, my partner in crime, DK. Welcome.
Hello. Always better than being in number two.
Yes, indeed. So, you all ready? You got your ships ready?
Yeah, I've got it, man.
So... we are joined again. If you were with us for our top 10 Starfleet ships episode, you'll know that we also had another of our guests here. So joining us again from that, the only other returning guest, welcome Adrienne, who you'll have heard on the podcast a few times. Adrienne, welcome.
Apologies, the most confounding thing. I appear to be singing. Most unusual, so peculiar.
Nice. Thank you for not making me be the only one that embarrassed myself.
I can't get them. I can't get them out of my head. So seriously, apologies.
I'm exactly the same. I've had the album on Spotify nonstop all weekend since watching the episode. I'm like, ooh, can I pick a favorite? Oh, I don't know. Although I'm obsessed with those random K-pop Klingons.
Oh, apparently. That's awesome. I love it. I'm here. I got my ships.
Awesome. Right, and we are joined for the very first time by a first-time guest. We weren't able to organize our schedule so that we could get everybody back from the top 10 Starfleet ships. So Rick and Ken are unable to make it, but hopefully they'll be listening along and supporting us. And in the meantime, we have a first-time guest to this podcast. But if you are a listener of our sister podcast, Silver Screen, you will have just heard her on our review of Little Shop of Horrors, where we met for the first time and we invited her into the Discord, and it came up with the name Ali Who Trek. So please welcome our new best friend, Allison, to the podcast.
Hey. Yes, Ali Who Trek is one of my Instagrams, and actually it was a Twitter one too, and it just stuck. So I like that name.
Awesome. Well, any fan of Doctor Who and Star Trek is always welcome in my orbit and in DK's. So shall we say so? Yeah, we've had some chats on the Discord and had a bit of fun. So, yes. And then I asked you if you wanted to come on this, learning that you were a Trekkie, and you were like, "Yeah, I'll come and do this and find 10 alien ships." So, did you find it easy or difficult narrowing it down to a top 10?
Somewhere in the middle of that. Actually, I'm in a group chat with some of my. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but we all met through Trek Twitter, and we're in a group chat, and we do like a bi-weekly Zoom where we watch a Star Trek episode randomly.
Oh, cool.
And so yesterday after our chat, I asked them for some of their favorites. So, and I didn't add them unless I thought they looked cool, because that was pretty much my criteria, was how they looked. So, they'll get some honorable mentions for the ones that they gave me.
I remember you asking, what were the criteria? I was like, well, I'll be honest, 90% of my list is just how sexy the ships look. And usually how good they look in an Eagle Moss model form. So,
unfortunately, unfortunately, I'm not one of those, know all the specs and stuff.
No, I don't. I couldn't tell you exactly how many decks or, where everything's located or where Cetacean Ops is. But if they look cool, fair enough. And I have a couple of random stories about at least 2 or 3 of mine, at least, which might hopefully keep us ticking along and entertaining. So since we haven't had the input from either of you, DK and Allison, have you both seen the musical episode? I have to ask.
I have, yes.
I have
What
not.
did you think? Oh, Allison, you have to catch up.
I know. I'm
Wondering-
about 3 or 4 episodes behind. It's bad.
Ah, okay. Oh, then you've got some great ones, because there's the Lower Decks crossover, then the controversial War Crimes episode, then the musical.
Yeah, I'm on the one where they go back in time.
Oh, you're way back. There's so much more after that.
I
You haven't
know.
even had the you haven't even done the Spock becomes human episode yet.
Oh, I didn't even know about that one. Cool.
That's been my
Not a
favourite
spoiler.
in
That happens in like
history,
the first minute.
Cool.
TJ, you have no taste.
I love that. I love that episode.
I think that's
well,
a
what I've
cool
yet to review.
concept.
Yeah, fair enough. You might like it as well. That's fair enough. But now we'll review those in their own time. I was just curious if anybody else had been as obsessed as me and Adrienne with the musical episode.
I
But,
know.
we'll-
I can't stop playing it in my car, in the house. And then I downloaded all the songs and I'm singing. And my family, who always roll their eyes at me about all my nerdiness, they're ready to leave. They're basically, okay, we're out of here.
This is the plus point of living on my own. There's nobody here to be annoyed by me singing K-pop Klingon loudly into my phone. Awesome. Well, yeah. So that's we'll get started with the actual business of the day then, which is the top 10 ships. As I said, if this is your first top 10, the way that we do it is we are going to go around probably clockwise just to keep things simple. And we're going to ask everybody for their. Well, first of all, we'll ask for their honourable mentions, which is basically any ship that didn't make the top 10, but they still wanted to shout out. I know a couple of you have got a few because you couldn't quite narrow it down, so we'll cover that first of all. Then what it is, we'll go around each person individually and we'll ask for their number 10 ship, their number 9, their number 8, and so on and so forth. And I will basically be assigning points as we go to the ships, depending on where they're placed. So that, for example, the number 10 ship will get 1 point, the number 9 ship gets 2 points, the number 8 gets 3, and onwards up until the number 1 ship would get 10 points. Basically, I'll add those together. Hopefully, we'll come up with a coherent combined top 10 list at the very end, which I'll be trying to add together as DK reads out our audience feedback. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Hopefully, we can explain some reasons why we like the ships. I've got a few images to hopefully pop up, and as I say, a couple of stories. So, is that all clear with all of you guys then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool. So, as I say, we may as well go clockwise the way we are all located here because it just keeps things simple. So, the first person on my right on the screen as I'm looking here is you, Adrienne. So, we'll start with the honourable mentions. Do you have any honourable mentions? How many? And do you want to try rattling through them if they've got like 20 or 30?
Okay, I had 20, 25. I have basically whittled it down to 6. So, I'll start with my least favorite honorable mention. Okay, that sound good?
Okay.
Okay, so I love Gul Dukat's Cardassian freighter that he had to fly for a while. Like, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
He was relegated to a Cardassian freighter. So, okay. I also love the Zosa just because I love Cassidy 8. So I want to put that in there.
That got used a lot, that design, in fairness. It's been used for a few different non-Starfleet ships, but yeah, I like the Zosa as well.
It has, but the pilot, or the captain, she's just my favorite. Okay, giving a shout out here to the Packlets for their ship from the Spy Humongous from Lower Decks.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
wow,
the
that one is just
animation and the
everything.
way, yes, and it grapples and rips ships apart. Like, I'm intimidated by that. I don't want my ship to be grappled apart, so I'm giving them some credit. The sarcophagus ship, I love that ship.
The
Klingon
from
ship of the dead.
Discovery, from the ship,
Yeah, that
from
one was
Discovery,
cool.
Isn't it cool? I just love
Yeah.
it. Okay, getting down there. So my number 2 favorite one is the bio ship from Species 8472. Like, I just
didn't
think
make my
that's
list,
so cool.
So cool.
But my number 1 honorable mention is Vreenak's shuttle from In the Pale Moonlight.
Oh, okay.
The shuttle just keeps popping in and out of Deep Space Nine. So I love that one. And that's
Like a
those
Romulan
my
show, yeah.
honorable. Yeah, those are my favorites. My honorable mentions.
So, Allison, you will be next on my clockwise order here. So, yeah, do you have any honorable mentions before we get into the top 10?
Well, I didn't, but then, as Adrienne was going, it got me thinking of, just some from different episodes that I like. So I might not have the names, and we know that because of my brain, I'm funny with trying to describe. So remember the episode where in Voyager with Harry Kim, when he's like on a planet and he gets accidentally transported through that pod, and it was like the planet was the death planet.
Yeah, it was in the first season, I think. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Emanations, maybe in the episode?
Yeah,
Yes.
Emanations.
That's what popped up when I tried Googling it, but then you called on me. So I was like, oh, crap. Yes,
Okay.
that one. I think that was pretty cool. Just that concept of these people have this belief that they go, their soul or whatever goes somewhere, but they're actually being transported to this planet to
Very left field
die.
choice. I like that. That's thinking outside the box.
Yeah. So I like that one. And then I don't know if this one would fit, but Peanut Hamper.
Aw, yeah. She's a
Yeah.
butt.
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, she technically does free float through space if you need her to. So I guess you could argue she's a ship.
I'm going to add her because she's an asshole. And, that episode where she comes back and she goes to that beautiful planet, the bird people, and she just...
So many people hated that episode, and I just thought it was so funny.
I liked
liked
that
it.
episode. I did too.
Yep.
I liked that one.
Because I think, you think she's getting redemption, and then she's just totally narcissistic and is like, no, see ya, bitches, So,
she is a mathematically perfect asshole, it's true.
Yeah.
yeah, and then at the end, I think that's not the end of her because, she goes into that deadly, bad-ass computer place, and she winds up with that one computer that... was it the one that Boimler but it was an
Agamus, the Jeffrey Combs computer, yeah.
Yes, yeah, that one, yeah, which was actually an Easter egg from some other previous one.
It was from the season 2 episode of, what was it called again? The one with Andrithio Billups' family. I completely forgot what it was. Oh, Where Pleasant Fountains Lie, I think it's called. I've just watched all these. I should remember, but yeah, he was from that episode.
Yeah, so I think
Anyway.
even though these are considered like supercomputers, a lot of them still have the ability to transport. So I consider them kind of starship-y.
My favorite Easter egg from that Daystrom institute where all of the deadly supercomputers is that if you look up and to the left from where the ones are that we place in there, there's one that's just got the CBS logo.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'll have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, the CBS Eye is just one of the computers on a block, and I'm like, oh yeah, what are you trying to say?
The man is watching you.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fair enough. So was that all of your honorable mentions you wanted to bring up before the top 10?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, we'll move along to you then, DK. Do you have any honorable mentions? I know you do because you said you had a few, right?
Yes, I do. They're not in any particular order, but I'm going to start with GOM 2.
Oh, Tin Man. Okay, cool.
Yeah, just because I think that was pretty much the first time I'd seen anything kind of like a bioship on Star Trek. And I do love the background information that they recorded the sounds of the ship by just feeding the sound guy a bunch of pizza and then recording his digestion.
I did not know that, but okay.
Yeah. Next one, I've got. I've also got the 8472 bioship because I do think it looks cool. I've also got the Borg Renegade ship.
Oh, from Descent.
Yes, because I just think the scale of that, and I just think it was very close trying to decide between that and another thing that ended up in the top 10. So alas, this one is on the honorable mentions.
Have you done the deep dive into that ship that I have, where it may or may not be a mine layer or just a Borg thing?
I haven't.
Yeah, there's a scene in Scorpion Part 2 where 7 of 9 suggests mines to use against species 8472, and then on the screen is the exact shape of the Borg Renegade ship. And people are like, either it's a shape that's familiar, or maybe that's the ship that's laying the mines, or who knows. But because originally I always thought, and I think most people did, that it was just a random ship that those Renegade Borg had stolen from someone. But no, apparently it is a Borg design.
Yeah, that seems very odd for one of their ships. Yeah. I was under the impression that they had stolen it. Yeah, I just love it because of the scale of the thing. They just absolutely dwarf the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
Next one, I've got the Krenin temporal weapon ship.
Oh, okay.
And at the risk of pissing everybody off with another franchise, it's just because it reminds me so much of Babylon 5.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll be the villain. I don't give a shit. And the last one I have is the Cetacean probe from Trek 4, because it's a very simple design, but I do love it, and it looks suitably alien.
It does. It's a bit too basic for me, to be honest. It is just basically a black cylinder with a little ball floating under it, But yeah, that's fair enough. There's some weird choices. A lot of things I hadn't considered, the likes of probes or exocomps or whatnot. I'm still. I have a feeling one of you may have included something which I wouldn't necessarily see as a ship, but I'm going to wait because it may be in one of your top 10s, and if not, I'll bring it up at the end and say, why did you guys not think of this? But anyway, before we do that, I'll give you my honorable mentions then. I only have 4. The first of mine is the Ferengi Decorah class Marauder that you primarily saw in Next Generation. I don't know why. There's something about the shape that's kind of evocative. Maybe it's because it kind of looks like a bug, which I know a lot of the ships do, but it's like a gigantic thing, because like DK was saying about the Borg Renegade ship, it dwarfs the Enterprise D, or at least it's the same size, and yet it looks like this giant bug in space with a very basic design. And it turned up again in Prodigy, which was always cool. The next on my list is the Kazon Raider. This is purely for the personal reason that I had the Ertl model kit that I had to build one Christmas when I must have been a lot younger, because it would have been around the second season of Voyager, so probably 96, 97. I got the model kit and had to build it, and it was a pain in the ass to build, as you can imagine. It took me about a week, but by the time I'd built it and coated it with all of the paint and everything, it's by proxy one of my favorite designs because of the sheer work I put into making a model of it, which I don't even have anymore. But no, I think it looks cool anyway. It's a cool design. It works as a raider. It's better than their bigger sort of warships, I think. The next one on my list is something we've talked about on a previous episode. I think, Adrienne, you might have been on this episode. The Klingon Cleave ship from Discovery, just because it's... I don't know if a lot of the... It was us that mentioned it, wasn't it, in our episode?
Yes, it was. That was us. Yeah, we were excited about it because of the damage it could do. We wanted to own one.
Well, I do own one. But it's small.
You mean like a legit, like in your life, one that you can use? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like the way you think. I like it.
It'd be incredibly handy for the LA traffic, Adrienne. Just cleave your way through everything.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, I love it. I love that. Like I said, I didn't like a lot of the Klingon designs from Discovery, but the idea that this thing could just decloak and be halfway sliced through your ship was really cool. Even though, in its early appearance, it's taking out the Federation sort of lead ship, which isn't good. But then you also get the heroic moment that I've already mentioned in the previous episode at the end of season 2, when Control seems to have taken over and the Section 31 ships are kicking butt, and then this Cleave ship just decloaks and rams through everything, and it's like, yay!
Let's go!
Laurel's here. Now you're in for it.
Yeah, now you're in trouble.
Exactly. The Klingons have turned up, even though you're only calling them when you got drama.
That's right.
And my final honorable mention, as I say, I only had 4, was the Romulan drone ship from Enterprise. Mainly, it does look cool and everything, even though it's a little bit overly spiky and stuff, but the reason that I like it is because within the episode, I just love the way it moves. Like, it spins around and stuff all over the place. And I'm like, why do no ships ever do this? They always seem to think they're on like a fixed axis, when in actual fact they're in space and can just do whatever they want. And I love the way that one just zips around, spins 360, goes all over the place. I'm like, yeah, more ships need to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They need to be like dragonflies.
Yeah, exactly.
And
of course, it could... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, as long as you can't feel it when you're inside it, because that'd be some mega...
well, it was remote controlled, so it was controlled by an Enar via telepathy, so there wasn't anybody inside it.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
to be in a ship
that may be
like
why.
that, though, would be hard.
Yeah. But yeah, it's also a kind of a cheat because it can just holographically appear as literally any other ship that I wanted to as well. So, why not? But no, it didn't make my list anyway. But just missed out. It would have been my number 11. But yeah, so with that all out of the way, then we're going to just break into everybody's top 10s, I guess. So yeah, your top 10, Adrienne, since you're the first one on the list, what's getting your 1 point?
Okay, my 1 point goes to the Xindi insectoid ship.
Oh, I nearly picked that.
I love that ship. It's so tough, like a flying scorpion kind of thing. And I love the Xindi anyway. So, yeah, that's my choice.
Yeah, I bought the Eagle Moss model of it just purely off the way that it looked, because I don't particularly like the Xindi designs for the most part. The reptilian ships and everything are a bit dull. But there's something about the Xindi insectoid ship, the way it is, that three-pronged.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just looks really cool. It does look a bit Babylon 5 as well, actually, DK, come to think of it. But yeah.
You've joined the dark side now.
I mean, the dark side's the fun side. So
they have cookies, apparently.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that I take it you just like the design of it overall, the way it looks kind of spiky and insecty, Adrienne.
Yeah, it looks kind of biological, kind of interesting to me, and I just feel like it looks like a scorpion. It's such an unusual design. I had to put it on here.
Awesome. There's if you ever get a chance to check it out, and why would you? On the magazine that accompanied the Eagle Moss model, it gives you the breakdown of like how it was developed, and supposedly the I can't remember who it was, but whoever it was that was designing it was told to come up with the design when he was out to dinner one day, and it's based on the crab legs he was eating. He says,
"Wow,
so
that's so cool! Yeah, biological. That's what I called it."
Absolutely. And the original design, though, the three prongs on the original version are like twice as long, because obviously they're based on like spindly crab-like things. So he sent them to Berman or whoever it was, Braga, who was in the executive producer's chair, and they just put a line halfway down the sort of points and was like, okay, nearly, but shorter.
That's so interesting. Okay, cool. Love it. Yeah.
I love stuff like that, all the behind the scenes and when you can see like the work in progress and the initial sort of drawings and sketches and where it's come from. So
I love that stuff too, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, that's 1 point for the Xindi insectoid ship. Allison, what would you give your 1 point, your number 10 ship?
Well, I do want to just say, stay tuned for a Xindi ship I have on my list, but it's not number 10. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. So number 10, I have the Gordon Raider from the Arena episode in TOS.
A remastered version of the episode specifically. It wasn't in the original, but yeah, here we go. I've got a picture for you.
Cool. So they're called nacelles, right? The little things on the side. Yeah, I like those. That's what I like about it. And they're like bigger than the ship. They kind of look like they could just break off and be torpedoes if they need to be.
Yeah, they look weirdly like guns, don't they?
Yeah, but they don't look like they would be. I don't know. With the Gorn, you do think they would have some kind of biological type. I don't know, like a cave-looking kind of ship. At least from how they're portrayed in, Strange New Worlds. They're so freaking predator.
Don't get started on that.
But yeah. So I mean, I know they were originally a concept in the original one. So this definitely is more to par of kind of how the ships were in the original. But I like it. I just like that simplicity in the nacelles. That's why I chose it.
Not to sound all sort of know-it-all and annoying, and I apologize, audience, if I'm coming across pretentious, but yeah, this was not in the original episode, but it was one of the things they invented for the remastered original series because they could. So it's kind of like a CGI creation that's designed to look TOS-ish, and it's just based on nothing except they could come up with a Gorn design, and it's pretty cool. I like it.
I could see how it would be CGI because when I looked up the picture, I thought it was. I'm like, are we sure it's from TOS? Because it looks a little new. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to know that tidbit about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. A lot of the TOS remastered ones are pretty cool. I have a story about one that might be on my list coming up, but yeah. And I think they've stuck to a lot of the remastered designs for Strange New Worlds. And I'm sure in one of I think it's Memento Mori, the first season episode, one of the Gorn Raiders does look very similar to this, but obviously a bit more advanced. Because I do vaguely remember them still having the kind of 4 torpedoes or like nacelles facing forward look. So yeah, I could be wrong, but I vaguely remember seeing that. So
I tried to find a picture of one from the new one, but so when I was trying to find like my last ship, I was like, "Ooh, the Gorn would be cool." They're badass. So that was my reasoning for picking like a Gorn type ship, and that picture popped up, and I really liked that one. But I couldn't really find a lot from the new.
Yeah, the Strange New Worlds ones are really hard to get a good picture of because it's one of those things where they're obscured by nebulas or things, or they're just in the shadows or far away. Because I've tried looking for them and they're not great. Even if you find a picture, it's kind of like, oh, okay, is it in there somewhere? All right. Yeah, fair enough. So 1 point to the Gorn Raider. Is that everything you wanted to say about that, Allison?
Yes, that is.
Awesome.
Accidentally wrote Gordon instead of Gorn.
Ooh, you don't want to get on the wrong side of the Gordon Raider. Oh,
jeez.
He's gonna write you a strongly worded letter and send it via subspace. So DK, we're on to you. What's your number 10 for 1 point?
My number 10 is one I believe that you had in your honourable list, and it's the Ferengi Marauder.
Yes, it was in my honourable list. Well played. So what? How come it made your list? What made you take the plunge? Was it just because it appears in Prodigy?
No. I remember loving it from the first time I saw it. I had a friend when Next Generation came out, and they had those magazines what told you about each episode, and they had little posters.
Fact files.
Yeah. Well, my friend had a couple of posters up, and one of them was of the Ferengi Marauder, and again, the scale of it was just like really impressive. And I remember at the start when they were trying to make the Ferengi the new Klingons for the Next Generation period. Before that, just
trying to make the Ferengi happen.
Yeah, and I loved the design of the ship. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I remember on one of the VHS covers that you could rent, it showed the Enterprise D in a battle with this Ferengi ship, and it just captured my imagination. And I just thought, that ship looks so cool. I bet it's populated by really nasty bastards. And then I saw the Ferengi on it. Oh, God. But yeah, I still do love the design of the ship.
Yeah, I love it, Jack. I can't believe it didn't really get more usage in DS9 when you think. I mean, how heavily Ferengi based that is. But
yeah.
I mean, we saw it in, I think we might have seen it in that one episode of Voyager. I'm not sure, but we definitely did see it in Prodigy, even though inexplicably it's piloted by one person. Which, sure, why not?
It took me a while. I think before I actually see it in action, it took me a while to figure out which end was the front.
Yeah, there's a few ships like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it looks better than the Ferengi have any right to.
That's what I mean with them. The DS9 aesthetic just seemed like it kind of got a bit lost, and a lot of their ships, even their shuttles and things on there, are just like a block with a similar color. And I'm like, oh, come on, you could have done something so cool based on the aesthetic of the Marauder. But,
yeah.
Never mind.
I think it's just such a cool looking ship. So, yep, that's my number 10.
My number 10 is the Hirogen Hunter ship from Voyager. Primarily full disclosure because, again, this is going to sound really pathetic, but because I bought the Eagle Moss model and it's really cool. And it's one of the rare models that's like entirely metallic and has some real substance to it and some real weight and heft. But I just like the design. There's something cool about the fact that it's got like familiar nacelles. It's not that it doesn't have them on the side here, but the shape is not like anything we've seen. It's not like saucer, drive section, whatever. It's pointing towards you like a hunter ship would, like a dart or whatever. It's even got like little claw things that come out of the top and bottom of it, I guess. I don't know what you would call them, but yeah. And the fact that it looks formidable, it looks like it's heavily armored and it's not worried about aesthetics. It's all just bits of metal and plating that are there to protect it. And it just looks formidable. It looks like intimidating. It's exactly what you'd want from a hunting species, because you'd brick yourself if you saw like 3 of these coming toward you, I guess. I think so anyway. So Yeah. And it also looks like, it's small enough that it would probably be fast and maneuverable as well. But yeah.
True, yeah. Because I look at it and I see it looks like Sheila with her legs cut off. Because look at the front looks like a spider face. See that? Like yeah. Now she's really mad.
Yeah. The way the things are attached, it does have that, because even the nacelles, like I said, they're really thin and spindly and they're attached sideways on. So yeah, I think it does have that. We've said this a lot, but this almost organic presence to it, where these things and then these spiky things look like they could be antennas or other legs. And I think that's what intimidates you the most, is when you see something recognizably insect or animal that you recognize. It's almost scarier than just a shape. Not always, but usually. So right, so we're up to everyone's number 9. And we'll go back around again. So, Adrienne, we're back to you. What's your number 9 ship?
My number 9 is the Breen warship from Deep Space Nine, the Chalborg ship. The format, I love the Breen ship. I kind of like the Breen, actually. That's my number 9.
Does my head in because it is so just horribly asymmetrical. It messes with me.
I love the asymmetry of it, because the Breen are such a mystery, right? So it's really mysterious.
It's just such a mess. I
love it.
I hate not seeing an aesthetic, but at the same time, maybe that fits the Breen, where they're just we don't care what it looks like, just cobble bits together. Who cares?
It's functional for them, and they're a mystery, so I like them, and they come through in the end, don't they?
Yeah, fair. Well, I mean, it's destroyed a ton of ships for the Dominion when they joined, so yeah. That's fair enough. I can't really argue with that. I mean, it was formidable warships, as I said. The thing I hate about it is the asymmetry, but if that's part of the point, then fair enough. Let me just make sure I'm getting the right points, because I almost wrote down 1 point for that, but it should have been 2, because that was your number 9. So, and that's the Breen warship. I can't forgive them for destroying the Defiant either. I mean, come on.
I know, but just looking at it, it's so different, so interesting, and it's very obvious that it's them. So I like that.
It is. It's a little similar in a way to the sonar ships from Insurrection, I thought, though perhaps a bit, but greener.
Yeah.
True. Fair enough. That's cool. No, that's 2 points. I like that you're a fan of it, and it was nice that we finally got to see them, because the Breen have been talked about a lot, and then it was the 7th season of DS9. So it was finally, yeah. Cool. We'll go back around to you then, Allison. What would be your number 9 ship?
My number 9 ship is now my little avatar. It is the Cardassian colony ship.
I have never heard of this. Explain.
Well, I wanted something Cardassian because they're so prevalent in DS9, Cardassians and Bajorans. And I don't know, when I was thinking of ships, for some reason, my brain kept going to evil, the evil, battleship kind of which ones are good for battle, even though this is a colony ship. But I like this one because I think, kind of going back to what y'all have been saying about organic or looking bugs and things like that. This one looks like a stingray to me.
Yes.
The shape of it. And
I can see that.
I've noticed a lot of the ships in Star Trek have some kind of throwback to something in nature. And I like that. I like the inspiration that comes from, taking something organic, but making it, an inanimate object. So this one it's interesting to think of it. What would the Cardassians do with a colony ship? Because they were horrible. But yes, I ultimately chose it because I like the stingray look.
That's cool. I've just had to look this up because I wasn't sure where it came from, because I know it's not in the show. Apparently it's from the Star Trek Armada video games.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
No, it's cool. It's a better design than half of the Cardassian ones that appeared on TS9. Why didn't they use this instead of the Keldon class, which is just Gallo class with a different tail?
Yeah.
These are so much cooler.
Yeah, because I didn't really like any of the ones that came out from the show. This one came up, and I thought it looked like it had that grid behind it in the picture I have. So I thought, maybe just somebody, I don't know, that's just what the drawing looks like. So that's cool that it's
they just do so much better on the non-canon, as if you want to call them, sources, because the Star Trek Online Cardassian ships are so much cooler as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cardassian Dreadnought in Star Trek Online is really cool. Crap name, but it's a cool ship. But yeah. Anyway.
So I guess in that video game, they have a need for colony ships. So.
I honestly don't know. I'm not familiar with the. Oh, okay. It says the Cardassian ship transports enough colonists and supplies to start a colony, hence the name. Once it's in place, the ship automatically is decommissioned and broken up into parts to be used, which is why it looks kind of modular. So it breaks up as it basically lands, breaks up, and forms a kind of makeshift little colony bits and pieces. That's really cool.
Kind of like that. I guess this could be an honorable mention that I guess it was a shuttle pod. You know, when Janeway and Chakotay get stranded and they start using the ship. Yes.
That was really
cool. You're good with the names.
Yeah. That's a very good choice. So that's 2 points for the Cardassian colony ship. DK, we're back to you. What's your number 9?
Mine is a classic, and it's the Borg cube.
Ah, the Borg cube, the old, very basic square in space.
Yeah. Slightly overused by this point, but...
Yeah, but it's quite telling that, I was going to say it's kind of remained unchanged, but I suppose it hasn't. There's been a couple of attempts to adapt it or make it look more badass since.
Even flies slightly different these days to how it used to.
Yeah, but I mean, saying that, it's still the basic design, isn't it? So
yeah.
So what do you particularly like about the badass Borg cube?
I just love how up until that point we've not seen anything like it. When you saw it in, it's Q? Who is it?
Q who was the first appearance chronologically.
Yeah, it's just this kind of like faceless. It's almost like an entity in itself. I mean, this is obviously back when there was no Queen and it was just the Borg themselves, and I just think it's very representative of them as a race. It's very functional, kind of. It's they're not going for bells and whistles. It's just there, and it's monolithic. And I just love it. I just think it was very well done at the time. It was very kind of, which is ironic, out of the box type concept for a ship. But yeah. I think, as I say, I think it's been kind of overused at this point. But I still love the simplicity of its design.
I still think, personally, I still get a thrill when you see it the same way because of the way that it is intimidating and scary, if it's used properly anyway. And I really don't think you need all of these attempts to. Like the tactical cube on Voyager was really cool when I was younger, and I was like, "Ooh, it's a Borg cube with extra armor," but it's kind of pointless. And then when the third season of Picard had that one that was just like it's a Borg cube, but it had to have added spikes and antenna and stuff on it, and it just made it look rubbish. Frankly, I'm like, "Oh, it's a bit of a shame." But that one was basically the Death Star since the Enterprise D flew through the trench of it to blow it up anyway.
I wasn't keen in First Contact when they had this fantastic ship, and oh no, there's a little ball inside it. Yeah.
Oh, I kind of like that. It makes sense that they would have some kind of escape plan. So I was like, okay, logically.
I guess it just felt a bit to me.
I will say the Sphere makes a lot more sense to me as like the equivalent of a shuttle or an escape pod than it does just a ship in its own right. Because I think that was some designer that was like, they stuck to a basic shape. What else can we do? We've done cube. Okay, sphere. That'll do.
Come on. Yeah, it did feel a little unimaginative.
Borg trapezoid just pottering around the Delta Quadrant somewhere. Anyway, that's fair enough. So yeah, that's 2 early points for the Borg cube. My number 9 then is partly because it reappeared recently-ish. It's the Orion ship or Orion Scout ship, originally from the original series. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. And this ties into what I was saying about Allison's Gorn pick, in that it was designed basically entirely for the remastered version of the original series. But what's fascinating about it for me is that rather than not showing anything in the original version of the episode, it was the episode of Lorn of Troyes. They showed like weird, just a pattern of lights whipping past the Enterprise because they couldn't afford like a model or a ship or anything, but they wanted to show something to imply, it was whipping through its speed and the Enterprise was completely floored by it. So yeah, it was very bizarre that you had this just pattern of flashing lights going past the model of the Enterprise. And so when they came to have to design the actual ship itself in CGI, they had to somehow incorporate the fact that it had these like whipping lights that obviously in the footage would have been reflecting in a certain way off the bridge officers or on the model of the Enterprise and such. And so they had this cool thing where they've got these 2 rows of like balls of lights on spikes on the back, which I'm guessing is supposed to be their propulsion system. But basically when it's like in flight, these things spin around and do just make like a blur of light, which fits perfectly with it. And yet the design itself is still really cool. It still works. It's still functional as a ship to me at least, I can still see how it would work. You know, you can see a front section, you can see a bit of like a stabilizer or two up there, and I really like. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the idea or the stories behind these things, but
wasn't it used on this in this season on the crossover episode?
It's funny that you say that, DK. The other reason that, like, I like that story and the reasoning behind it anyway. But then, as you said, in the Lower Decks crossover of Strange New Worlds, as far as I'm concerned, this is the same ship. Like, I know there's differences, but to me, it's the same way that the Enterprise is the same but different. All they've basically done here is take some of the ring part out of the back. By the time it starts spinning around and stuff, it would look identical anyway. So yeah, the fact that it reappeared and it's the same design and it's based on the same idea of these, like, you know, light balls on spikes so that it would look a certain way if it's going around you at speed. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. And I love that now it's not just TOS remastered, it's an official, they've actually done this ship and it existed in canon. So yeah, that also helped it to get into my list and to make my number 9. So hopefully you guys are a fan of that one and don't think it's a terrible choice. So,
no, it's not. I do actually like that.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm a sucker for the particular kind of motion that you get from some of these things, and the way this was portrayed was already kind of like, it's a good idea, but I didn't love that TOS did that thing of, oh, it's just light, or because they did that a lot where, like, oh, Captain, there's a ship, but it's on the view screen, but it's so far away, it's a dot, and it's like, come on.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford it, we know. All right. You know? But yeah, anyway, cool. So that was my number 9. So I think we're round to everybody's number 8, and we'll again go to you, Adrienne. What's your number 8 ship?
All right, my number 8 ship is the Romulan mining vessel Narada from Star Trek 2009, of course, because I was there in the theater and I saw it come out like that, and I was right in the front, and it just was incredible. I love that ship.
Awesome. I know that it comes up in our audience interaction somewhere as well. Yeah, the Narada, one of those big.
And it's funny, like, I'm not a Romulan fan of any sort, but I literally have 2 of their ships. I'm mentioning them today. So, hey, way to go, Romulans.
So it turns out you are something of a you big liar.
Apparently, I know. I need to connect to my truth.
No, but when it comes to the Narada, I remember, I don't know if it's officially canon or mentioned in the movie, but I remember reading somewhere in some sources that it's like augmented with Borg technology, which, you know, everything is at a certain point in Star Trek, but whether that's true or not, it is. It doesn't look fully Romulan to me. It's like there's a bit of there it is. There's a bit of something extra to it.
It has a bit of something, doesn't it? It looks like a thistle, a scary, big, mean thistle. Go away. I don't like thistles.
Yeah.
I loved it. I can still hear the sound of the music that they put into the score when it was coming on the screen, and I just couldn't believe it.
I love your passion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm love
a little crazy. Sorry. I'm a little crazy about Star Trek stuff.
We're all a little crazy. I haven't written that down, and I probably should, because that's 3 points for the Narada. I have got that name right, because I often get them mixed up. Yeah.
That's it.
There we go. So, Allison, we're back around to you. I'm guessing it's the ship that you currently have in your avatar.
Yeah, so this one gets an honorable mention from my friend Lori. She said it's the Vulcan Sirach class. I like the... I'm so stupid. I like the how it's a circle with the
I like the rings.
I like the ring with like the little 3 prongs inside it. I just think that's cool, and I'm assuming the ring rotates around it. Maybe.
I don't think it does, but I do know it's meant to be their propulsion system, so it's like their equivalent of warp nacelles.
I think that makes sense. I like the circle, and I think for Vulcans that makes sense because they're all about like balance and about like their emotions. And I know me, I'm very psychological, but to me even these ships can be psychological, like how they're designed. If you think about like the psyche of some of these people, like the Borg for instance, and they all want, their main goal is to assimilate, so they have this big cube that's it's like a representation of being assimilated. So this is like, you've got this circle that's around their ship, and it's for me, circles represent kind of like this balance. So, yeah.
But yeah, I have again, this is going to sound really pretentious, but I do have a story with regards to why the Vulcan ships look like that and have that ring propulsion system. Does anybody else know this story before I get into it?
I do not.
I don't.
Okay.
No, mate, we come here for the stories, remember?
Okay.
Mate.
Fair enough. Well, basically, there was a design that was proposed, and it was originally a planned design for the very first Enterprise from TOS, which was later adapted in the motion picture as like an earlier Enterprise, and it was Enterprise XCV 330. If you ever have a chance to look it up, and it is basically it's essentially a Vulcan ship, but it looks Starfleet, like it's white and grey rather than the Vulcan colors. But in place of warp nacelles, it has like these two rings as their propulsion system, as that was just one of the ideas they put forward for, maybe we could use this before they came up with the sort of saucers nacelles idea. And so, yeah, I think because that's technically part of canon, it also appears, I think, in an image in an episode of Enterprise. They had to come up with a reason why there would be a Starfleet ship called Enterprise that looks like so different. And so they decided, well, it's based on Vulcan technology. So now all the Vulcan ships have these rings to explain why this one sort of planned Enterprise did one time. So, yeah, I love that. And I love that this idea just looks cool. Yeah.
And it goes along with the whole, first contact, they helped us get into space kind of thing. So that, that honestly makes a lot of sense that a first Enterprise would look something like their plans.
Exactly. Yeah, completely. Awesome. I like that pick. The Vulcan ships are kind of cool, except that, like I said, I can never differentiate between the various types, but that's just me. Right. DK, we're up to you. Are we up to your number 8? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And going on about the Vulcans, for an emotionally, kind of restrained race, I think their ships are just beautiful. They're like so sleek. It's like having a neighbour that's a tax inspector, and then he goes out and gets in a Ferrari or something.
That's a brilliant analogy, DK.
That is a really good one.
I just think, it's completely, I don't know, at odds with how they're portrayed.
But it fits, doesn't it? Because they claim we're free of emotion and stuff, but they're also incredibly pretentious. So they would fully just be like, look at our superior technology.
Yeah, but you can just imagine like a fleet of Vulcan ships, and it must be like that street scene on American Graffiti. They're just like, check out my rings.
Yes.
The reason I'm going on about this is that my number 8 is also the Surak. So,
the Surak.
Oh, that's funny.
Great minds think alike.
They do. Awesome.
So I just think it's just a damn beautiful ship.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I agree.
Let me just make sure I'm getting the points down for that. So that's 3 points from. It's so weird you both had it in the same place in your list as well.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Awesome.
We're smart like that,
Well, I haven't got any Vulcan ships in my list, so clearly I'm not smart. Anything else to say on that, DK, or have we kind of covered that with your great analysis?
That's pretty much it. I have Vulcan envy.
That's fair enough. Well, we're going to go to my number 8 then, because we've already kind of mentioned this in somebody's honorable mentions. But my number 8 is, and it's nothing to do with that other space franchise, DK, it's the Krenim Temporal Weapon Ship. Because look at this thing. It's brilliant. I mean, not only is it a fantastic design with like a focusing crystal for the temporal energy or whatever else, it's humongous. You've got this great design, and it's like massive, almost like, miniature planet or moon-sized kind of thing.
So one could say it's almost a self-contained world 5 miles long, and that's our last best hope for peace.
Nice one. DK for the win.
You get an extra
point. One could say that. But no, I remember the... Sorry.
I was going to say, so I'm looking at this picture, and it reminds me of two things. So the right side reminds me of one of those claws in those games where you're like endlessly trying to grab the little stuffy that you want and you can't find it.
Yeah.
And then it also, as a whole, reminds me of something that would be used to like drill into the planet. I don't know if they.
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, it's kind of fire. It's a firing, like I said, it's like a focusing crystal or something at the front inside of those things. But it's a similar idea, I think, is the point. Like you said, it's kind of, I don't know what you would call it. It's the way that there's something about the way it comes in. And like I said, I remember the first time I saw it when I first saw that two-parter, and I would have been, again, a lot younger. And the first time you see it is the image that I'm going to put up here because it's such a cool, evocative image, even though it's only like 1/5 of the ship that you can actually see. But it's just basically this thing coming into a planet's atmosphere, blasting at it, and then completely erasing or changing its like history. And I'm like, that is badass. Look how cool that looks. And so I was already on board, and then I was like discovering that that's like the tip of this thing, and it's actually 5 times as big and everything. And I'm like, this is just cool. I love this. I love the design. I love the way that it looks like I said, fingers or claws or something coming at you, but it's got this crystal that'll kick your butt. But there's also like living sections that look like bulbous in there, and like clawy spike things again coming out the side. It's cool. I like it. And again, doesn't look anything like a Babylon station to me.
You can kid yourself, but it's not true.
I'll keep kidding myself. That's fine. So we're back to you, Adrienne. What's your number? I think 7, is it? We're up to? No, 8. Sorry. Oh, yeah, 7. That's right, because I came last. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
My number 7, just because I think that they are beautiful and magical, are the Jem'Hadar fighters. That's what I name the scarabs.
What I call the cockroach ship. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so versatile. They do their thing. They get in there, and they're badass. So, yeah. I
did contemplate having that on my list because they are kind of cool. But in the end, they're too much. Just look like a cockroach, and that's ugly to me.
Yeah, I contemplated them too because they're Jem'Hadar, and like I said, my brain kept going to like evil. I guess I'll own my truth too, Adrienne. But yeah, there were other designs I like. Well, that's a cool design. I don't know. The pictures I found just weren't doing it justice. That is kind of cool. It looks like a scarab.
Yeah, like it's a scarab. Yeah. An Egyptian scarab. They're badass. They work in packs. They come and get you. I mean, the Jem'Hadar are just tough, and I love them.
Yeah.
It's one of those ships that looks like it almost looks different when you look at it from the underside because it has like the purple belly.
The fact that we got a Jem'Hadar ship, and like Garrick was flying it, or was like looking out the window, like it just, I got to be in there. I got to do that, and I hope Garrick's there too.
Yeah, there you go. There's a picture of the underside for you, Allison, if you would.
Yes, that? Yeah.
Well, like beetles, scarabs, or whatever are sometimes two-toned. Like they have that iridescent color, like that purple.
Yeah.
That totally, oh my gosh. I bet if you learned the behind the scenes, that they would have to say that's what it's. They saw a dead beetle. I saw a dead beetle, or I watched The Mummy, and now we have the Jem'Hadar.
I like the aesthetic of the Dominion ships in general. The Dominion battleship's really badass as well, but it doesn't look like a bug so much as just a pointy warship. But again, I'll not get into that in case it's on anybody's list. But yeah. So that was again, I keep forgetting almost to write these down because I'm preparing the images. So it's the Jem'Hadar attack ship would get 4 points from you. Is that right?
My number 7 was the Jem'Hadar fighters.
Yeah, 4 points.
That's
Nobody's picked it yet, but that's fine. We'll see if anybody else does have that on their list. And we'll move on to Allison. Tell us why you like the Romulan warbird. Yes, I can see the avatar.
Look at that cool face. It's so, let me pull up my picture so I can see it closer.
And don't worry, I have one here.
Honorable mention from my friend. It wasn't her like top choice, but we were in our chat yesterday. We were talking about how they look like different things, and she was like, this one looks like a bird, and it does. But my friend Julianne mentioned this one. So I was looking at it, and well, obviously the sides look like wings. The face looks like, the face of some majestic bird, like an eagle, a hawk, something. But it even kind of gives me Aztec vibes. If you look at the, if you kind of zoom in to the front, I almost see like a little face.
Yeah.
I see like
there's a beak on it, isn't there? Really?
Yeah. I see little eyes. I see the beak. I see like where there could be a mouth, and then that middle part's a neck, and then you've got the wings.
The warbird.
The official designation for that one is Romulan Dideridex class, which I hate because that's a dumb name. I just know it as the Romulan warbird, but now there are like 4 different things that you can call that.
What was it? Deridex class?
Dideridex.
Dideridex.
D''DEX. It's so stupid.
Which sounds very similar to some Vulcan stuff, because I have another Vulcan one
Makes
that's
sense.
called similarly. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that would figure since they're kind of the same lineage of people.
Yeah.
DK, what's your number 7 ship?
My number 7 is, oh god, it's another one just I love because of just the sheer scale of it. But this one's going back to the original series, and it's the Ferrari from the First Federation.
Oh, I didn't pick an image of that, but yeah, it's just a big ball.
It is. And when it's on screen, and when it's when it zooms up to the Enterprise, you think, what is on this ship? And then you turn out it's just young Clint Howard and a Muppet. But it just fills you with, again, it gets your imagination running, and I love that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's basic, but it works for what it does. Even the little shuttle thing that it sends out is just a smaller little sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
I kind of like...
Again, it's just because it makes you wonder what technological marvels are on board, and it turns out very little due to the budget. But you can kind of imagine how amazing it is inside there.
DK, before we go any further, would you like a drink of Tranya? 4 points for the Thessarius. My number 7 is from the original series as well, actually, and it is the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, Romulan bird of prey. Now, a large part of this, I'll be perfectly honest, is just due to the fact that it has a bird painted on the bottom of it, and I'm just an idiot who's just a sucker for obvious, easy aesthetics. And so I saw this and was like, bird. But it's cool. It looks cool. It's I don't know. There's something about the fact that it doesn't look like anything we've seen. Like I've mentioned a few times, it doesn't really, I mean, it might have what looks like nacelles on it, but it's smaller. It's a different shape. It looks sufficiently alien. It's one of only about 3 ships that they bothered making for the original series. There it is. And then, like I said, it's got a bird painted on the bottom of it. That's just cool. Bird of prey, bird, why not? And, if we're being a stickler, technically it was the first ship that's supposed to have ever had a cloaking device, although now, there's been 1,000 in Enterprise and Strange New Worlds. But, yeah, there was something cool about how intimidating it was. It was small, it could cloak, it fired this deadly plasma weapon, and, again, it's got a bird painted on the bottom of it.
And the bird has kind of an Aztec-y feel.
It does. That's one of the things I mentioned, because I've got an image somewhere of the updated version for Strange New Worlds, and I'm not as fond of it because they just make the bird like a red kind of abstract pattern on the bottom, and I'm like, that's not as cool. I don't like that as much. We'll move to you, Adrienne, and we'll ask what is your number 6 ship.
Okay, my number 6 is the Borg sphere that you guys basically hated earlier. I love it. It's so great.
Oops.
I think it's awesome just because it's a sphere and not a cube, and it's like menacing, and I just think it's great. I love it. It's fast, it's maneuverable, and I always want one of these things.
Yeah. I mean, it does the job, but like I say, I think I prefer it as an escape pod rather than a ship within its own right. Because when it started becoming like the size of Voyager and it's still just a sphere, and I'm like, well, why would they bother? They got cubes.
Well, I guess my favorite is the first one we see. That I just think it's really awesome. Yeah.
The one from First Contact, which is like
and then that huge scene where the time and everything, and seeing it in the theater like that, just way up close, which is the only way to watch Star Trek movies, is in the front row, just in case anybody's ever gonna go to the theater and see one again. Don't sit in the back. That's the chicken's way up.
Yes. Be fully engulfed. Be in space in that battle against the Borg. Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, the Borg sphere, I don't hate it. It's functional. It does what it's intended to, but I just think it's a bit redundant. But yeah, fair enough. I like that you picked it, so at least it gets represented. Allison, you haven't changed your avatar, So I'm confused. What is your name?
Crud. Hold on.
You don't have to do it. I'm just.
No, I want to. It's fun. But, I get the ADHD kicks in and I'm like, squirrel. Okay. So now I'm.
Oh, I have ADHD too. So it's good. I'm totally squirrel myself. I'm probably, I probably am worse than anyone here.
All right. So this is the Vulcan D.K
type. Yeah.
D.K type battle cruiser. And again, I just like that it's the circle with the ship in the middle. This one seems more though like the circles at the end than the cell or whatever it is. But like it's almost like the ship has a circle at the end and then this circle goes through that circle. And I know that's very vague. I'm sorry, people. Kind of cool. Yeah, no, I think that would be a really cool. I think that'd be a really cool model.
It is. It's quite a cool model because you don't really get an impression of it on screen, but the way that the ring is kind of connected to the body of the ship, it seems a lot more stable, if you know what I mean. Because there's the one we showed earlier, the Surok class was very almost free floating, and the D.K type is connected.
Like how is it connected? Yeah.
Yeah, because there's like a ring at the back. There's an empty ring at the back of the body of the ship, which then the ring itself goes through. So it's kind of connected to that via the sides. And it's like, okay, my head can work out now how this is connected and how it's all of a piece. Whereas with the other one, it was like, that's looking a little bit unstable, But yeah, I love this D.K type. It's a really cool design, I think. I can't remember which type of these it is that appears in Lower Decks, but it's one of the two of them, I'm sure. Anyway, good designs though. Always rings and cool. Whatever color this is, you would call it brown, I guess.
Brass.
Awesome.
I don't know.
Brass is a good call, actually. Yeah, cool. Awesome. DK, what is your number 6? Is it?
Yeah. My number 6. It's the Bajoran Solar Sailor.
It is gorgeous. I don't have the model of that because I'm told it just falls apart, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
Cool. What do you like about this Bajoran Solar Sailor?
I just think it's beautiful, and it just reminds me of the episode, and I think it's a fantastic episode of DS9. But yeah, in a universe that's full of nacelles and stuff like that, I just love the primitive design of this, and it's just a very pretty ship.
Cool.
There seems to be a lot of romantics in Starfleet, so I'm surprised you don't see more of this kind of type of ship, especially when they're always quoting Melville and
I mean, it's not hugely functional though, because you're talking sub light impulse speeds. It's not going to get you anywhere fast, is it? When you think about it, so.
It's the difference these days between going on a sailing ship and taking a jet.
True, you'd think there'd be a few more for like pleasure cruises or little jaunts within the solar systems and things, I guess. But
exactly, yeah. I just think it's a beautiful little design.
That's fair enough.
Who knew you were such a romantic?
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
Oh, he really is, actually. And it's very. It is an absolutely stunning piece. It really is the Bajoran ship. I completely forgot to put it on my list, and I feel bad about it, but. It really is.
Well, you can say it. DK. We can retrospectively call it one of your honorable mentions. Then.
Yes, please. And I love that episode so much. It's such a great bonding episode between father and son.
Yes,
it's
going
to it. Yeah, it really
is that the one where they get like stuck out in it?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah, and they have to work together. Yeah, because at first Jake didn't want to go. Remember, he's like, "Dad, this is dumb," but he ended up going, and it's so great.
Yes, I do get what you're saying. There is a romanticism about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. Fantastic. So that's 5 points for that as well, isn't it? Or are we on?
Yes.
That was right. That was DK's 5-pointer. So we're up to my number 6. My number 6 is an icon. Some of you might think it's a bit low, but I am going to go with the Klingon D7 battlecruiser from the original series and beyond, because just look at that design. Again, like I said, they only invented like 3 ships for the original series, but the ones that they invented, man, they knocked it out of the park. Because again, completely different from the Enterprise. There's no sign of other than like little stubby nacelles, I guess. There's no sign of any kind of joint lineage, and yet it looks so evocative and it's so cool. And yeah, you get warship vibes from it, or I do anyway. And I just think, I don't know what it is about. There's something primal about that shape. Maybe it's just because I saw it as a young age or whatever. But I'm like, that shape and everything just looks absolutely super cool, and I'm here for it. And yeah, every variation of it, from Discovery and Strange New Worlds, etc. Whether or not it's a D7 or a Katinga, there's some debate now. But I just think, yeah, it's really cool. I like it. And,
you're not going to get an argument from me.
I will say it again, not to sound overly pretentious, but I do have a little story about this, which is the very first time these Klingon battlecruisers were ever seen on screen, they were used by the Romulans. They weren't used by the Klingons, because they invented, or they kind of made the ship for the third season of the original series. They hadn't, in previous appearances, the Klingon ships hadn't been seen. They'd always been at a distance, or we just didn't go outside to see them. In the remastered episodes now, they do appear, but at the time, they didn't appear. So they invented this ship to appear in the episode that I mentioned earlier, Alarm of Troyes. And then when they came to film the Enterprise incident, the episode with the Romulans, they realized that somebody had basically stepped on and smashed the Romulan bird of prey model. So they used the D7 model that they already had invented for the Klingons. But in the way that these things sometimes happen, the episode broadcast order was shuffled. So they appeared as the Romulan ships first, even though there is a line in the episode about Romulans are using Klingon ships. There must be some kind of exchange, which I just find fascinating, and just kind of like one of those historical, like, that is so weird, because I don't think of these as anything but a Klingon ship, and yet the very first time they appeared, there's an entire generation that are just like, they're Romulan ships, maybe, but yeah, bizarre stories of life. Anyway, that was my dumb story about the D7 battlecruiser. So
no, these stories we need these stories, Mike. Absolutely, they're wonderful. I love to hear about the ships. I love all that stuff. So keep it up.
Fair enough.
We're on to a connection to it. Otherwise, we'd just be, it's like 4 Borg here.
Let's not get into that. But yeah, so we're on to the number 5s then. And Adrienne, again, we're back to you. What's your number 5 ship?
Okay, mine's already been mentioned, but it is the ever sophisticated Vulcan Surat class. I love it. It's so different.
You're the third person to pick this ship.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. Because when you first see it, you're looking at it like in TOS, you're like, what is that? It's so wonderful. So it's clearly
different. In TOS, but I'm assuming you mean in NT.
Oh yeah, sorry. Right. Well, yes, of course. When we first see it early on in the timeline, I'm sorry. It's strikingly beautiful. It's so different. It's obviously engineered to the T. Yeah. So I just love it. Yeah.
You see what I mean, though, about how the ring is kind of like free floating there, and it almost feels like it should fall. It's not as well connected as the Dakia, which I think I prefer.
But that's what's so great about it. It makes that it's not circumference, but what is that? I wish I was an engineer, but what is it called when it's going in a circle and it makes the energy?
Yeah.
Centrifugal force.
Thank you. The centrifugal force. That's what
I cannot believe I just pulled that out of my
head. That was awesome. Yeah. Our brains made a one true brain there. We connected. So yeah.
Awesome. ADHD for the win.
Totally.
Between the 4 of us, we have one brain. Woo!
Yeah, that'll do. That's awesome.
Wait, we got to do a musical moment. If I only had a brain.
Well, I've given 6 points. I like the Vulcan ships, but I'm genuinely surprised that it appeared on 3 out of our 4 choices, and may well make the top 10. So awesome. So Allison, I'm judging by your avatar. Is that the Xindi aquatic ship that I can see?
It so is, yes. So this one gets an honorable mention. My friend Julianne, this is her favorite. But I just like it. Well, one, I really like the Xindi, like Adrienne was saying. But I think the aquatic ones were my favorite. That was just such a fascinating species. They just had.
Really, yeah, totally.
Yeah, some people feel like that arc kind of went on a while, and it wasn't long. But I liked learning about them and how they had all these different species within their culture, and the aquatic ones. You would think like that would be the hardest ones to like communicate with, but I think they were probably the most advanced out of all of them. They were more like superior when it came to like just not wanting to get into a war. Like, weren't they the ones that ultimately like the war didn't happen because of them?
Yeah, they had kind of the deciding vote, but I kind of like the idea that their kind of species trait was that they take absolutely ages to decide anything because they want to come at it from every angle. So I think even the other Xindi were like, oh, Archer, they're debating everything, but it's going to be a while before they decide one way or the other. And I'm like, I kind of like that, though. There's something nice about a species that's like, no, we have to really debate this and consider this. We can't just rush to anything. And
it's honestly like the better version of the Vulcan. You know, like we think of Vulcans, they're logical, but really what they do is suppress emotions, which, as we know in modern, sorry guys, counselor here, but we know in modern day, psychology and stuff like that, suppressing your emotions is not good. And I think they do a good job showing that with several of the Vulcan characters. So, but, them, they actually, like you said, they take their time, they meditate, focus, they really think through the choices and the decisions that they make. And it just, I don't know, like when I think of them in that ship, it just feels wise. And, it just evokes those feelings of watching Enterprise again, which is one of my favorite series. And
welcome. Yeah, we all love Enterprise too.
I tried to watch it before some of the other ones, and I felt like it was a little hokey, which I've heard other people say that too, like it was hard at first. But when I got into it, man, it became one of my favorites because I just love that perspective of before Starfleet. So, they were the pioneers, and actually their Enterprise is my favorite Enterprise. So,
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, it did win our top 10 Starfleet ships. Actually, it came first, believe it or not. So, yeah.
I knew you guys were smart. So, that's why, my friend did mention this one, but, it made my list because I love the Xindi and I like just their whole concept. So.
Very nice. Fantastic. So, DK, we're up to you. What's your number 5 ship?
My number 5 has been mentioned before, but it's the Deridex.
The old Romulan warbird. What do you like about it then?
It's, again, it was on one of those the posters that got my imagination going back in the day when Next Gen first kind of started. And it's just a very noble looking ship. You know me, I'm not a big fan of the Romulans. I'm not a huge fan of Romulan culture. I think it's...
Yeah, because you're wrong.
for want of a better term, it's just dull. But I think this goes against that for me. I just think it looks... It's just beautiful. It's some beautiful design choices. Very, as I say, it's just a very noble looking ship. You really won't want to mess with it.
Yeah, absolutely. DK, you are not going to believe this, but my number 5 ship is the Romulan Deridex class.
Hey!
So I can just keep
cool. Another tie.
I know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're right. There's an elegance to it which betrays how utterly big it is, and like you said, a lot of the merchandise, I remember posters, jigsaws and all kinds of things, which was just the Enterprise D facing off against a warbird or two, because it was so cool and such an evocative image. And again, not to beat the same drum, but it just looks so different from a Starfleet ship, so that you can recognizably say, oh crumbs, this is an enemy species, completely different species to us. Everything's laid out in a completely different way. And everything that you guys already said, you DK and you Allison, it looks like a bird. It has a little beak at the front of it. You can see, despite that it's also a humongous ship, just judging by windows and size and stuff, where everything is. And yeah, I don't even care about the kind of empty space, just because I like that as a design choice. I think it adds to that elegance and the idea that it has wings. It is a bird. And at the end of the day, it's powered by a miniature black hole. Which, come on, you can't get more badass than that. Well, there we go. That's another several points for the Deridex, because we've had it on 3 of our lists. So it got 6 points from me and you, DK, after already getting 4 points from Allison. So we're back around again to the number 4 ships? Let me just check.
Yes,
it is. So your number 4 ship, please, Adrienne, if you don't mind.
Well, it might be time to change my paradigm. It is the temporal warship from the Krenim. I love that ship. It's so tough.
Yes.
And the story is so harrowing at the end. And I just love that ship. It's a great one. It's so powerful. And even though it's literally only one tiny thing in one series, one season, one series, it's just made such a big impression on me. So that's my choice.
It's badass. I love it. And that two-parter is great. I don't love the whole reset button at the end of that two-parter, but it's too good of an experience to fully write off. I think it's amazing. And yeah, I love the Krenim ship. Well, never mind. It doesn't look anything like a Babylon station, but never mind.
I think I need to watch that show.
Someone's trying way too hard to convince himself.
I really am. Anyway, I'm going to stop sharing that. But yeah, I love that design. It's so cool. It's a shame we didn't get to see a bit more of it. Anyway, so that was your number 4, which gives you it 7 points. Allison, I'm assuming Klingon Bird of Prey.
You know it, baby cakes. Okay. So,
baby cakes. You don't know me well enough to start calling me that.
Sorry. You're officially in the baby cakes realm.
Yes, you are. You have a new pet name. We will all be using it now. That's awesome.
Getting brought
I
up
know,
in
right?
classics.
Yes.
Thanks for that.
You are officially Mike, aka Baby Cakes.
Totally.
Okay.
So this one also honorable mention from my friend Dennis, and he randomly was like Klingon Bird of Prey, and I was like, well, which one? Do you have a specific one? Because there's lots of them. And then he gave me this picture. And
yeah,
we both
there's only one Klingon bird. The others are pretenders. When you say Klingon Bird of Prey, you think whatever this is, the Burrell or Cavort class both look the same.
Gotcha.
It's cool thing.
Well, because I have a model. It's the only model I have, and someone actually gave it to me. It was really sweet of them. I have the one from Discovery. And
okay, cool. Yeah.
It's pretty cool looking. The wings, instead of going out, they kind of go out and under a little bit.
Yeah, the Discovery one's almost like it's moving towards being a circle in a way.
A little bit like a half moon kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
there is
looking
other
at
things
it.
called Klingon Birds of Prey, because there's a one from Enterprise from the 22nd century as well. And then there's the abysmal one that looks like the Spaceballs camper van from the Star Trek Into Darkness.
So what I like about this one are the markings on the wings, so to speak. They look like,
because it's got a bird on it.
yeah. And I mean, the head part looks more primitive because it's a perfect little circle, but the wings are just really badass. I just, I don't know who gets these jobs of designing these, but they are very lucky because that's like a dream job, to sit there and just think up designs for ships. I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
I know. I love that.
I do have, and again, the audience are probably going to groan, a little bit of a story about the invention of the Klingon Bird of Prey. So you'll probably know that it debuted in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. The original villains of that film weren't going to be the Klingons, it was going to be the Romulans. And so this was actually designed as a Romulan Bird of Prey because it was like an updated version of the one that appeared in the original series, which is why it's got like the red bird painted on the underside and it looks the way that it does. So the entire Klingon aesthetic that we know basically happened by accident because somebody tried to invent an updated Romulan ship. And yeah, when the villains were swapped out for the Klingons, they apparently logicked it within their own heads as, well, the Romulans used Klingon battle cruisers in TOS, so maybe they're just all swapping similar kinds of ships. And then that just got forgotten about and it was like, nah, it's just a Klingon ship. So it's like one of those weird fortuitous things that just happened. So now you know. I'll pop up the more you know G.I. Joe type graphic there for you. But yeah, madness to think that it wasn't intended to be a Klingon design at all. And yet it's got the cool, weapons fire thing that the battlecruisers have at the front. It's got the cool greenness. It's got the menacing look. And I love that the wings, this is so simplistic, but that the wings can just go like in 3 different positions. Because, yay, functionality. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now.
We love your nerdy outness over the ships.
I'm fully embarrassing myself. I do apologize.
No, it's cool, Mike Baby Cakes.
Yeah, this is the place to fully embarrass yourself if you really want to let go. You know what I mean? Just let go. Start singing if you want.
Yes, sir. How long have you been doing this podcast, Mike? If you think you're only embarrassing yourself now, oh dear.
Oh, thank you for that. That's not going to keep me up at night anyway. What's your number 4 ship then, DK?
My number 4 is the Tholian web spinner.
Oh, almost made my list. Just to clarify, DK, are you talking the original series or are you talking the one from Enterprise? Because they are different.
The 22nd century one.
So that's the one from Enterprise.
It is, but I've got a love for both of them, if I'm being honest. Because obviously the first time I saw them was Tholian web.
That's really cool looking.
Let me see if I can.
I like it. Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, they're remarkably similar.
This one also reminds me of like it could drill in, to
that makes a web.
Oh yeah, these are the ones that. Yes. Okay. So do you like the one that's so I'm seeing. I remember that episode with the web and it catches the. Yes. Okay. Okay. Sorry, y'all. I'm remembering now.
That's fine.
That is a really cool feature if you think about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I like. I should probably have. I didn't really make my list, but I was like you. I was just captivated in the Tholian web the first time you saw it spinning that like energy web around the Enterprise. And I was like, this is such a cool ass idea. I love it.
And I'm surprised that the Tholians haven't been used more, especially in the current in the current batch of series that we get, because they're so underutilized. And frankly, they scare the bejesus out of me more than the Gorn ever did.
Yeah. Tholian web spinner, 7 points. So we're up to my number 4 then. And my number 4 is, again, it's iconic, but it's simple, and it's already come up before. My number 4 is the Borg cube, because, like I said, I was alluding to earlier when we were talking about it, there's something about it, again, that just as soon as you see it, it raises something in me. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I'm like, oh crap! So something bad's coming. And whether it's like those, the appearance of it from the very opening shot in First Contact, when you just see the bottom of it coming into frame, and then it's getting shot at, and it's just taking all this fire, like whatever. To the initial cool appearances in Next Gen, the appearances. That fantastic cold open of Scorpion Part 1 from Voyager, where you see 2 Borg cubes and you're crapping yourself, and then the Species 8472 ships just blow them up, and you're immediately like, what just happened? Or I was anyway. So, there's something about it. It makes absolute sense for a species like the Borg, because it is functionality over form. It's just basic. It gets the job done. It looks dull and robotic as they are, and I love it. Borg cube. What can you say? Right. I'll move us on because I'm aware of time plowing away here. So we're on to the number 3s now. And Adrienne, what's your number 3 ship?
Okay, well, it sounds like all of you solved for Y, so clearly I'm the X. I am putting
what have you been drinking today?
I know, right? My number 3 is the Borg cube, the original Borg cube.
That's so weird.
Because it's like everybody says, it's your basic square in space, but just remember the feeling that you got when you first saw it. You were just like, what? Because it's the original one, it's so dense. But I like how we said the monolithic kind of a thing, and it's just functional. It no life. It's fully compacted, and love it.
Fantastic. I can't argue with that, because obviously I had it in the same, more or less the same position, just one place lower. So that's another 8 points to the Borg cube, and again, it's on 3 lists so far. So Allison, again, you haven't changed your avatar, so I'm baffled. What is your number 3 ship?
Son of a beach. Sorry. I was like, I got to stay on top of this, and then what do I do? Okay. My number 3 is the Shrike.
Oh, from Picard season 3.
Yes.
I had a feeling it would come up.
Yeah, that's
if we're thinking menacing, if we're thinking like the worst kind of person ever, I don't know. I don't know. This ship just embodies menacing to me. I like the sleekness of it. It does kind of have some throwbacks to some of those that have been on the list, though, about that kind of like I said, they look like they could almost dig a little hole or something, like the, I've already forgotten the names, but you know what I mean? So, but I think I'm noticing a theme for me. A lot of these ships I've chosen because of how I thought that they could, I guess, hurt the Federation. And as of the enemy, so to speak. So these, this one though, I think does the trick, so to speak.
Yeah, it's cool. It also has that kind of crab leg thing pointing out forward going on for it, doesn't it? So, and again, size, just if you want an easy way to make us intimidated, just put it up against a Federation ship and make it look 10 times the size.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, your picture makes it definitely look more crab-like, or like evil crab, mirror universe crab. Like if you had like in The Simpsons with the sewage, into the little lake when all the little fishies have 3 eyes, that's what their crab would look like. Yeah,
exactly. No, I don't particularly love the design of it, but I do like the idea of, again, if you would consider this part of the ship, but I like that it fired that cool portal weapon thing, because that was just a cool idea where it just fired a weapon at you that would then, you'd go through a hole and just appear in a different place. It was just a random, like, what? That would be such a head trip. But you kind of got to love the fact that they scanned it and were like, it's got every weapon known to the Federation and some we don't know. Because if you want a shorthand for just we're effed, that probably is going to do it.
Yes,
awesome.
Definitely.
Shrike gets your, let's see, that was your number 3, wasn't it? So 8 points. So DK, what would be your number 3?
My number 3 is, again, been mentioned, the Klingon bird of prey.
Hey, the old famous best one.
Yes. It's got very difficult, actually. My top 3 are interchangeable, but as for today, this one made the number 3 spot.
Awesome. So, favorite appearance of the bird of prey? There's been a few.
I'm just going to say the original Trek movies, not the ones in the first season of Next Generation where they look like they're powered by the engine from your average larder. The first.
Pretty sure they're just stock footage of the ones from the movies, dude.
No, when they're attacking the Enterprise D and they look like they've been filmed, dragged through treacle. I just think they look terrible when they go slow. Bird of prey should be fast, always fast. So the movies.
Yeah, I think the same, especially Star Trek 3. Very good use of the bird of prey. And 4, I suppose, it's the same one. So, yeah, cool. So my number, 3? My number 3, weirdly enough, is also Klingon. Some people are going to debate me having this as a separate entry, but my number 3 is the Klingon Katinga-class battlecruiser, which I know some people would say is the same as the D7, but I class it as different. And I'm thinking specifically of like the one you first saw in the motion picture. DK, I know you'll appreciate this. That opening scene in the motion picture where you see these things and the detail that it has as they're getting attacked by Reacher and stuff. Just incredible, isn't it? Really? Yeah. And again, it's used so brilliantly in the movies. The scene that I've got up here is from Star Trek 6, where again it just looks so menacing next to the Enterprise. How cool is that? So great design, but developed into something even more extra special, and can't really say beyond that. So, Adrienne, what's your number 2 ship?
Well, for anyone who has listened to us before, I'm a huge Martok fan. Martok happens to fly the IKS Rotaran, which happens to be a Klingon ship. So, way to go, Klingons. You're doing well.
So, you're also going with that famous Klingon bird of prey?
Yes, please. The famous Klingon bird of prey. Also, while we're out here, I might as well say that my friend from the Blood and Ashes pod, Jody, this is his favorite, although I couldn't get a list from him because of time. He said, I absolutely love the Klingons. So we just put it out there.
Yeah, the Klingon bird of prey is iconic for a reason. I think it probably is going to end up winning the day for us, but we'll see.
It might. And of course, the Rotaran is the one that we've been inside. When we were talking about the episode before.
Well, Star Trek 4, as I said, takes place because by that point the Enterprise is destroyed and they steal the bird of prey. So I'd say that's the first time we're really like inside of it and we get a sense of it. So yeah. Awesome. And apparently it can transport whales. So that's the animal, not the entire country, obviously. Awesome. Any other thoughts on the bird of prey, Adrienne?
No, I kind of think that we have all given our thoughts about it.
Yeah.
There might be more, but who knows?
Awesome. So, Allison, you're keeping us guessing, judging by the avatar. What is your number 2?
Yes. Drum roll, please. We think that the Klingon might win, but we have all, except one, mentioned the Borg cube. That gets my number 2. I just, I think maybe like most people, the Borg, freaked me out at first, but I am actually kind of intrigued by them. I'm going to have to go there again, but I am intrigued by the Queen's backstory. How did she get to this point? Ooh, that's a good picture. How did she get to this point of this need for a connection? And the only way to get this connection is to assimilate. I like the whole character development backstory of things. I do think, she used it in a very manipulative way, but I feel like we got a glimpse of that in Picard. I believe season 2, when they go back in time and with the doctor lady who then becomes the new queen. But, so, this one fascinates me just because I think in the beginning, like TNG and stuff, especially, you really only see like they're this menacing threat, and like, are they going to assimilate us? And then you see that they're also in the Delta Quadrant, and that might be where they started. And, all this stuff. And, this just, it reminds me of like when they have big, when they compact trash.
Yes.
That's what it looks like to me.
I never thought of that,
really,
but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you really think about it, it's kind of what it is, isn't it? They take pieces from other cultures and assimilate it into their ships, into their mechanics. They really, which actually is kind of like the United States too, right? We are
that's cultural assimilation.
Yeah, we are a cultural assimilation. But we think we own the country. That's another thing for another day. But so I think the whole like what makes the Borg is kind of fascinating. And I also like that in the newer shows we've gotten to see how some Borg have been able to unassimilate, obviously 7 of 9, and then there was the other one, Hugh.
Yeah, the Borg cube, weirdly enough, then has appeared on all 4 of our lists. Just so you know, because he said 3 out of 4, but it's actually been on all 4 of the lists now.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
Awesome. DK, then what's your number 2? Drum roll.
All right, number 2. It's been mentioned before. Guess. Surprise, sorry. It's the Katinga.
Yes, it is. I knew you'd be with me on that one.
Definitely. Those opening moments from the motion picture are just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
It took an already good design and just gave it that bit of extra oomph, and I just love it.
Can't believe we're the only 2 that have the Katinga on our list. Or that I'm the only one that has my D7, I think, on my list for that matter. But yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? It's something about the way that they made it and the way they rendered it for those original movies looks good and fantastic in 4K, as I'm sure I've bragged once or twice already. But yeah, cool. So yeah, my number 2 then, just to round out another ship that all 4 of us have picked. My number 2 is the Klingon bird of prey. Because like I said, I love all the stories behind it. It's rightfully iconic. It's turned up in practically every series because of the way it looks and how cool it is and how it reeks Klingon from the moment you see it. But it's also versatile. It got used as the kind of default Starfleet ship in Star Trek 4. And like I said, it can move its wings around from flight to attack position, which makes it look even more badass. And I don't know. Again, it's one of those things that's just like the shape of like a Dalek or the Enterprise. It's ingrained in my cultural identity of like, I see this ship in this coloring, and I'm like, yeah, that brings something emotional out in me. So yeah, I'm going with the bird of prey. And so quickly as we can, we'll round everybody's number 1. So, epic drum rolls. Adrienne, what gets your full 10 points? What's your number 1 best alien ship?
Well, I'm going to be grounded, and I'm sorry because what a letdown. But I picked the HMS Bounty. That's my favorite one, and it's a Klingon bird of prey.
Klingon bird of prey, that's fine.
Okay, I'm not grounded. Good, okay. But yeah, I just love that. I love how it basically saves the world, saves the universe. Dr. McCoy names it. It's got historical irony, and it's just interesting. So it's the HMS Bounty, and well done, everyone.
That's fair enough. I'm just going to add that to the list on Klingon Bird of Prey because they're all the same thing. But I can understand separating the Rotaran and the Bounty because
so different.
It's sacrificed another place anyway, so I'll fully allow that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Allison, what is your number one greatest alien ship of all time?
All right. Well, here we go. This is mine. And you said you were surprised, but
we're waiting. Hey, it's the Katinga!
So this one, I mean, from the beginning was my favorite, but then also honorable mention. This is also my friend Chris's favorite. So I don't know. This is an American term, but maybe you guys have heard of it. But it just reminds me of a badonkadonk. A hefty badonkadonk. When I see it, I'm just like, this thing is carrying a badonkadonk or some junk in the trunk. Maybe
it is. Yeah.
And I like that. And I feel like if any of the species were to have some badonkadonks and we're going to embrace their badonkadonks,
it's excited. Look at that light at the front of it that you've got lit up there.
And well, that almost reminds me of like, I don't know, they're going to probe you in a scary kind of way, but
no, it's a torpedo. To be fair.
Yeah. Well,
or something like that, some kind of plasma or something.
But yeah, I mean, when it's not lit up, like in your picture, it looks like a weird little eye coming to get you. But yeah. So, and I don't know, like I just love the whole aesthetic of it. And when I think of like like I am Starfleet, but when I think of our number one enemy, I usually think of the Klingons. I mean, they've been there since the beginning. Yes, their look has evolved a lot, but they just, we've had such a contentious history with them, and from enemy to ally, part of the Federation, and it's such a different culture from a lot of the people that you see like as part of like a Starfleet ship. So so that one's my number one choice.
Nice. Awesome. Thanks for that, honey boo.
No problem, baby cakes.
I had to get you back at one point, I'm sorry. DK, what is your epic number one?
Okay, so bear in mind it's interchangeable with the other three, my top three, and
excuses.
No, you know me. I always like to throw something in at the last minute for some reason because my tastes seem to differ widely from everyone else in these top tens.
You haven't heard my number one yet.
But you know that this would have been on the cards, mate, because you know me. And besides, scale, I love a sense of scale. Number one, it's Vija.
Oh, okay. That was unexpected. Okay.
That's so cute.
That is one word I would not use to describe it. But yes, I just love this. I just love this ship.
Yeah, I remember how much you love V'ger.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about V'ger before.
Yeah. It's just
a cool idea, but
it's big, but even then, it's not big enough. It needs a goddamn cloud.
It does need a cloud.
Precisely. Well, since none of you have picked it, I can say that I'm surprised because I was expecting, given that you included Starbase 1 in the Starfleet ships list, DK. Yeah. I was waiting on one of you picking DS9 since it is technically an alien space station design.
It can move.
Nobody obviously thought of that.
I did not. Mm-mm.
because Cardassian design, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's not on my list. That's not my number one. I just thought somebody, especially DK, I can imagine he might do that because you never know.
Because he's awkward. No, I just love this, and I love the line in the motion picture that they actually cut from the theatrical one, where Uhura says it could hold a crew of tens of thousands, and then McCoy replies, or a crew of 1,000, 10 miles tall.
Which is such a cool thing to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just love it. I just love it. And I don't subscribe to the theory that it was the Borg that found Vija, because I think the ship design would have been so much more mundane had that occurred.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, though. You can see where they kind of pieced those bits together and came up with that concept, machine planet. And
Shatner kind of ran with it in The Return, I believe.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I just love this, and even now, to me, it's just this huge ship that holds so much mystery because we only saw the tiniest fraction of it. So even if you can, you take into account that, okay, maybe a good portion of its engines, there's still so much unexplored territory there.
Are we all ready for my very weird left field number one that literally nobody else has picked anywhere in their honorable mentions list?
Yes, we're ready. And it's probably because you love the model, but go ahead.
Partly, but I've always loved this ship since I first saw it. Again, it captured my imagination. And there's something weird about it, but I'll try and explain it as best I can. So my number one, my 10 points, goes to the Merchantman, originally from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
Okay. Why did I not see that coming? You never shut up about this, dude.
I know, right? I've mentioned this before a few times, and again, I love the design. I love that, like you were saying about the Ferengi ship, DK, you can't tell which way around it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
Because those things on the wings look like guns, but they're actually facing backwards. I love that it's got this kind of organic, is it a manta ray almost kind of look? It's got like Thunderbird style badass jet engine things on the back of it. It looks ramshackle yet somehow weirdly beautiful in its own way. I don't know this, and the shape and the general idea of it is just like it reeks of like spaceship to me. And maybe it's the same reason that I ended up liking like Serenity from Firefly and stuff. It's like the idea of we've cobbled together something and it's badass, but it's not going to look the prettiest, but it does in its own way. I don't know. I think it's also partly like, and it's the same logic that people apply to the Alien films, in that like all we'd seen was like this Starfleet, which are like a pseudo military or the Klingon Defense Force, and this is basically just a bunch of random people that have a ship that are that they're traders or whatever you want to call them, just random on the job people trying to make it day to day, and And I hate that it gets immediately destroyed by the Klingons after transmitting the data, but at the same time, that's a badass scene. And again, it's such a cool design that it's turned up in 1,000 places, slightly repainted as just various other freighters and ships of the type. But
true.
Yeah, I think because again, it's kind of something other people have alluded to in other choices. Again, because it was first seen on the big screen, or because it was seen in like theatrical cinematic appearance, I don't know, it drills into your brain a little bit more there. So anyway, that's enough rambling from me about that one. So what I'm going to do then, I'm going to throw it over to DK with our audience response section, and I'm going to disappear and try to count up all of the scores and come up with a coherent overall top 10 to give you at the end. So DK, it's over to you, my friend.
Incoming transmission.
Yeah, no worries. We had a few audience participation ones here. One at Commander_Meg, I believe, is on Twitter or X or whatever the hell they call it these days. Says the revs from Star Trek Prodigy are really cool. I love how huge they are. That's not ringing a bell with me. Anybody else?
It's basically it's the ship that the Diviner flies around in.
Oh yeah, that is a good one. Nice choice there. I can't believe no one in here thought about that one. Christopher on Mastodon, that's at TSPOE_pods at mastodon.social. He says, the TNG Romulans have always impressed me. Huge ships whose size never really got exploited. They were almost always shown with the Enterprise in the foreground, which masked their size. Would love to have seen them in a film where they could have done more than just sit nose to nose. Aside from them, I'll just say that I enjoyed when we met a species whose ships didn't have the two nacelles set up. Make them look more alien and unique, like the Terrellians or Ferengi to a lesser extent. Sandra. Hey, Sandra. She said on our Discord, she says, I always talk about my fave, but it's the Kelvin. I love the Narada, so if it's not already on your list. So, yeah, I think you covered that one, didn't you, Adrienne?
I did, and it makes sense that she would love it.
Nice. And then we've got Toby on our Discord, who Mike just gave a list of ships, and this is the only one that we've got, so I'm going to go into what Toby said, and I think Toby's just commenting on their design. Klingon Bird of Prey, he says, kind of looks like a turtle, and that's really fun. I am a fan. Klingon Battlecruiser, boring, looks blocky and uninteresting, like a beginner just starting out with creating models. Okay, Klingon Katinga class battleship. This looks very rusty and kind of like scrap parts. It's for sure a vibe, but not my favourite. He then says Romulan Bird of Prey, original series. The design is pretty basic, but I do like the drawing at the bottom. The Romulan Warbird, the Deridex, that's fun. The front looks like the alien from Alien. Also, it kind of looks like an optical illusion on the picture. The front part is connected in the middle, but it kind of looks like it is on the back/right if you only focus on the top half. Yeah,
way to go.
Yeah, it just seemed to be a favourite from
Yeah, it is.
familiar with the series and people who just like the design. It then goes on to say Romulan drone ship. I like this as well. Kind of feels like an insect, like a poisonous insect with the needles, and that's a fun vibe for a ship. I also really like the dots. Only Mike can explain that. I presume that's something on the design. The Cardassian Hideki class, like that one as well. It looks like it's made out of wood. I really like the colours. It gives me an ancient vibe. He then goes on to talk about the Gala class. I don't really get this one. It looks too bland, and the colour doesn't look good. But for a Borg cube, he says, you can't really go better than the campness of a flying cube. Iconic. A Borg sphere feels like the cube, but cheap, unoriginal, and uninspired. I'm sorry, Adrienne. I didn't say that.
Toby, we need to talk. How are you going to escape? You got to escape, right?
He then says Borg probe, see above, which I'm presuming he's referring to the sphere for his opinions on that one. He then lists Xindi aquatic. I love that. It's called aquatic, and that is really shown here. It feels orca-esque with the wings and the curvy form. I can picture it underwater. The Breen warship. I think this feels a little messy. I don't really get the concept. The arms are too close to the middle part. Also, those neon green spots are weird. The Jem'Hadar battleship, he says, this feels very X-Wing, simple yet effective. The colours could pop a little more, but mostly it's good. And he finishes with the Jem'Hadar attack ship, and he says, I don't like this one. It feels like it's giving Scarab, but not succeeding. The bottom in violet doesn't fit. The shooters make sense, but don't look nice in this concept. So, yeah, I think people are going to be having words for more than the Borg sphere there, Adrienne. So, yeah, and that's all we've got on the participation. It doesn't look like a lot of people's picked up on that one, which is a shame because I think it's been some nice variety of designs in this.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed more people didn't chime in, but maybe when we actually put the episode out, people will, use it as a launch pad to give their opinions or tell us how wrong we are or whatever.
Yeah, fingers crossed we start a flame war.
Oh God, no!
We're gonna get the people that are like, they like that because of the way it looks. They should like it because of all the specs. Like, those kind of people.
Oh yeah.
We didn't get that on the Starfleet ships one, so hopefully not. So
okay.
But yeah, the spots that Toby was on about on the Romulan drone ship, by the way, are the hologram projectors, but they do just appear like little red dots all over them.
Okay. Is Toby not a Trek fan then? Or...
No, he just literally saw the pictures that I put up, and that was it. But yeah, I thought it was interesting to get
cool,
some.
Though.
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
interesting to hear a perspective from somebody who isn't obsessed and they're just looking at the design and what it makes them feel. That's interesting.
Right. I like that.
Definitely.
Yeah. That was a neat perspective to have. We should.
Yeah, you would have had a coup there, Mike, if you could have got Will to comment.
Oh, please. He would just never speak to me again if I even dared ask. But no. Yeah, never mind. I do have a top 10, believe it or not. It's actually, it's worked out really well. Although there is a tie at number 6 with 3 different ships, but never mind. It was a bit varied, this one, although I say that the top three were never in doubt. But, you know,
yeah, I think you can guess what number one's going to be on this one.
Without any further ado, then, if anybody has a drum roll handy that they can give me or whatever, this is the list, the official top 10 alien ships as decided by the HoM Star Trek podcast and our panel of experts. At number 10, with 8 points, is the Tholian Web Spinner. Ooh. So it made it onto the list. At number,
I'm happy with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 9 with 9 points, bizarrely, is the Shrike. So well done, Allison. There's a 3-way tie at number 6, all with 10 points, and that is the Krenim Temporal Weapon Ship, the Merchantman, and Vija. Yeah. I think that was because we put our number ones as very specific, so they both made it on in that point. So, yeah. With 12 points at number 5, the Vulcan Surok class. Which, yeah, I'm surprised the Vulcan ship made it, but cool. At number 4 with 16 points, the Romulan Dederadex class Warbird. At number 3 with 26 points is the Borg Cube. At number 2 with 27 points is the Klingon Katinga class battlecruiser. And at number 1 with a whopping 43 points, thank you, Adrienne, it's the Klingon Bird of Prey.
Yay!
In fairness, even if Adrienne hadn't given it the extra 10 points, it would have won 33 points to 27, which was the nearest one. So even if I discounted that, it would still have won by quite a ways. So, awesome. Yeah. What do we think of that list then?
I think that's a decent list. I think it's pretty representative, and I do think the Bird of Prey deserves to win. It is iconic.
It is.
Yeah.
Cool.
It truly is, yeah.
I would say it's probably the most well-known, too. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you probably could show it to a non-Trekkie and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's a Klingon ship," or near enough anyway. So yeah, cool. Well, as I say, I'm going to put this episode out as part of our Klingon-themed season. It's a special episode that will basically bridge the gap between the full reviews. But I was always going to do that because I figured the Klingons would feature prominently in here, and sure enough, they both did, and then won. So it would seem fitting. So yeah, apologies, to anyone who had to listen to our singing before we got to this. But
that's awesome.
Again, I couldn't resist, and hopefully you've enjoyed the.
Does that include me and Allison?
Yes.
It's mainly to you and Allison, to be honest. Because everyone else can fast forward.
They can. They really can. I love how the Klingons won, and they didn't have to threaten us, bully us, or do anything. We just gave it to them.
They deserve it after that fantastic bit of a signal.
What does that say about us, you know?
I know how.
And we had the Borg in the top 3. I mean, geez, were we like gluttons for punishment?
Good point. Yeah. A lot of them were enemy ships when you think about the Romulans were in there. I mean, Vija almost destroyed Earth, and DK is like, "Oh, I love that thing that almost wiped out our existence."
In fairness, I can agree with it at times.
Again, yeah, kind of see your point. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully you've been entertained by our stories and our picks. And again, if you do want to interact with us, you can always find our link trees below. Do tell us, what are your top 10? Do you agree with our choices? Do you disagree with some of them? And are there reasons why that makes sense beyond, didn't look like that in its first appearance or whatever? Yeah, but we'd love to hear from you what you like and what you dislike, and what's a hit and what's a miss, so to speak. So. You can, as I say, you can find the podcast, myself and DK, all via link trees that are always in the episode descriptions. So yeah, thanks DK for joining me as always as my right-hand man.
Thank you. I am officially the badonkadonk of this Klingon ship.
So we've all ended up with cheesy nicknames, it turns out.
Wait, we didn't give Adrienne one.
Well, I'm going to leave that to you, Allison, since you gave me one.
That'll be for the next podcast.
Okay.
Yay.
Stay tuned.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so thanks, DK. Do you have anything else you want to shout out quickly or no?
No, just you can find me here, scrubbing the floors.
Absolutely. I will quickly give another shout out. I've been saying it in every episode, and you may all be sick of it, but I'll just keep saying it. Please go and save Star Trek Prodigy. Let's spread the hashtag. Go and sign a petition if you haven't. They just released a clip, the first 4 minutes of what will be the season 2 premiere, and it was so good. It's criminal this show got cancelled. It had all kinds of things in the Doctor and the Voyager A and the crew and everything wearing Aston Villa shirts, and it was all really cool. So,
it really was.
So,
it really needs to come back. We love these characters. We want our little universe back.
Supposedly the creators were at Vegas this weekend and said it's like 99% sure that it'll get a new home, at least for that second season. But I still want to spread the word and make sure it does. And we need seasons beyond that. It's a great show. So I'm just here spreading that good word again. And with that, I will say thank you so much, Adrienne, for joining us on yet another podcast. You're probably sick of us by now.
Never. No way. This is my safe space.
Awesome.
Oh my God, what should your real life be like?
Exactly. You guys saved me.
Oh, you caught me off guard there, DK. That was a good one. Anyway, so where can people find you exasperated and wanting an escape from your life?
Well, I'm still on Twitter at AL.
You mean X?
X, I know. I finally changed on my phone to the new icon, and so I am also on Threads at Beanie Ballers. Beanie like you wear it, ballers like kids who play basketball, and SoCal like Southern California. Beanie Ballers SoCal.
You're also on Instagram.
And on this Discord. Yes,
and
I just barely use Instagram, but and your Discord, which is another happy place.
Oh, and you're also on Mastodon, I think, as Beanie Ballers.
No,
SoCal.
I'm letting that go. Yes, but
are you? Oh, okay, fair enough.
My poor phone. My poor phone. I can't handle anymore.
That's fair enough. Well, yeah, and as I say, you can always join our Discord, as Allison recently did after her first appearance. So, yay. Allison, again, thank you so much for coming on and joining us for a first time on this podcast and a second time overall. Hopefully, it won't be the last, but we'll see how many more nicknames you come up with.
You like them. Come on.
I do secretly. It's true. So where can people find you on the internet?
So, I have like several Instagrams, but my geeky, nerdy, normal, regular one is Allie Who Trek, which is ALLI, Who like Doctor Who, and then Trek like Star Trek, all one word. From there, you can learn more about my professional one and so on and so forth. I'm also on the Discord as the same name, Allie Who Trek. I left Twitter because it became too toxic. And I do TikTok occasionally, but mainly just to watch funny videos.
I'm the same. I have a TikTok and I never go on it.
Yeah, because it's so easy to go down the rabbit hole. And I'm like, who has time for that? I could make time, but I don't want to. I want to live my life, so...
Well, hopefully you'll join us again, Allison, and
I would love to
for a proper review or some such, and we'll get you onto the podcast proper. But they're not all this long, I swear, or quite as nerdy. But they are as nerdy. That's a lie. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed all four of us here, our little panel, and we'll be back very soon with the starting back up of the Klingon review season in just a few weeks, and we're coming back with a review of the Strange New World season 2 premiere, The Broken Circle. And we're going to be joined for that episode by regular guest Sandra Evanson returning, and by first-time guest, although you will have seen him if you watched our Star Trek Jeopardy, Jeremy Duncan is also joining us for that one. So stay tuned for that. Nice. And then a few other incoming Klingon-based reviews. And again, you can find myself, DK, Allison, and the aforementioned Sandra on our review of Little Shop of Horrors over on the Silver Screen podcast. It's our latest DK's cult classic episode. And there'll be other things coming with that. We're still ticking along with that as well, including a review of Power Rangers 2017, Big Trouble in Little China, and various other things. So if you're a film fan as well as a Trek fan and you're not subscribed over there, do go and subscribe, although it has almost twice as much as this channel at this point, but still. So hopefully we can catch you out there on the internet. And in the meantime, as I say, thank you so much to all of my guests, to anyone else who's listened all the way through. And remember, we are Starfleet. Live long and prosper. Kapla.
Live long and prosper.
Do you want to sing us out, Adrienne?
Oh, Lord, no.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Created, produced, and edited by Michael Wilson. Additional material produced by DK. Music by Timeless Journey. More information can be found at soundcloud.com/Timeless Journey. The Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast is based on an idea by Michael Wilson and Will Templar. Follow the podcast on Instagram at HoM Star Trek Podcast, or look for the Hit or Miss Star Trek Podcast under Facebook groups. Links to all our social media accounts and more are in this episode's description. This podcast is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Silver Screen Hit or Miss Star Trek. This has been a Mike's Podcast production, copyright 2022. Thank you for listening.